Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. Today we're talking about student housing. Please welcome my next guest. Is Brent Little. He's president of Fountain Residential Partners. They are student housing developers, and they're based out of Dallas. They do projects all over the country. Brent, thanks for joining us here in Studio One.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, we appreciate it. And when I set up the show in the first segment, one of the things that I mentioned is that some people that are interested in multifamily start to get interested in student housing, but in some ways it can be quite different, can it?
Yes, it is. The biggest differences between conventional or luxury multifamily and student housing is that it's we aggregate a lot of different services together. So it's not just an apartment you're renting, you're also renting the furniture, the cable TV, the high-speed internet. Everything is presented in one package. And then also we lease with joint and several leases. So you don't have to lease the entire apartment. You can just lease your bedroom or your suite, which is very convenient for the parents. And you're not responsible for any damage that the guy living across the way from you did to the apartment either. So it keeps it affordable, and it's very convenient for the parents. You don't have to come in and set up the gas and the electric and all of those things. It's all done there for you. You come in, you don't have to move furniture in, you don't have to have a U-Haul van with you. You come in with your clothes and your laptop and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I guess that makes it make sense that unlike apartments where you talk about per unit, in this business you talk about per bed, right?
You talk about it per bed on the rental basis and also on the sales basis.
Right.
That's what you're really looking at.
Right, and then the leasing is quite different, right? You've got to be ready for that, all right?
It's very different in many ways. One way is that the students are early adopters, and so a lot of them are surfing the web. We lease a lot of apartments via the internet at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because that's when they've stopped watching Netflix and they don't have anything to do. So they'll be there with their friends in their old apartment or at their house and say, it's time for me to find a place to live. And so you have to have a great online presence and a mobile presence, which is maybe a little bit different from the conventional marketplace where they're walking in the door.
Right. And how about the actual lease terms and the summertime downtime and the turnkey of the units all at once? How is that different and challenging?
Well, all of the student housing markets these days are 12-month leases, which runs a little bit different from the on-campus housing. When you're competing with the on-campus housing, you have the benefit, though, of I have 3 kids in college now, so I know this. They have to move out every November or December and move back in January, even when they're moving in and out of the same place. And also, the on-campus housing is usually a bit more expensive because they're building a high-rise development with concrete construction and the like. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the tenant demands now? I mean, how are the customers changing? Is it the old student housing that my generation's used to? Or?
It is completely different. In fact, it changes every 5 to 10 years. If you go and you look at an apartment project that was built for students 5 or 10 years ago, and you look at one today, they're very, very different. We use condo-like finishes now. They're granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. We put 50-inch flat screen TVs in the living room. We've got massaging shower heads. We've got some apartments in Fayetteville, Arkansas we're building right now that are 2-story townhomes with a pool table in the rumpus room upstairs.
Nice.
So is that the kind of place that you lived in, Michael?
No, I don't remember having a pool table. That would have been nice, though. And so the communities, the older communities and the new communities you guys are building, so you guys are adjusting, there's more amenities in these projects?
Oh, the amenities arms race has been on for a few years. And in fact, the conventional business, we in the student housing business used to look at the conventional business for our keys and our cues. Now, there's no holds barred in the student housing business. You've got lazy rivers going in, rock climbing walls, simulator golf. I mean, I've been to properties where it beats any resort that you can go to anywhere in the United States, the level of amenities that they have there for the students.
That's amazing. And what about security today? I mean, that's always a concern of the parents, right? When their children are attending these schools, especially in their freshman year.
Right, and that's one reason. Also, you have more females than males at most universities, and so for whatever reason, we're always more concerned with our daughters.
Yes.
And we use safe lock electronic keying systems now, like you have in hotels. And so you'll have a key fob that gets you into the building, accesses the elevator, takes you to your floor, gets you in your unit and into your bedroom, and it's all tracked. So you can see who has entered your apartment, who's entered your bedroom, who's entered various floors into the elevators, things like that, to track it. And then also we have security cameras throughout both the parking and then in the apartments themselves, so that we can keep tabs on things. And what we say is, we can't say that nothing is ever going to happen, but we can tell you it's not going to happen twice.
Well, yeah, we don't want anything bad to happen, right? Especially to our daughters. Our sons can take it, right?
That's right.
They've got to man up, right? Well, you're talking about technology there too, that with these security items that you can do now, which is very helpful. But what else is technology? How is that changing your student housing environment today?
Once again, as compared with the conventional apartments, the broadband architecture is critically important here. The students are the early adopters. Our sons and daughters are the ones that get the latest iPad and iPhone and use them more than we do. So when the new iPhone comes out and it doubles the amount of information that needs to be transmitted through our broadband architecture, we have to be ready for that. And then also, the students themselves, more and more of their courses they take are online. They're getting their syllabus off online, they're taking their tests online, they're downloading books online, and then they're using Netflix more and more. So the broadband architecture, the Wi-Fi throughout the property is critically important. And I always say, if the water goes down, you'll get 2 calls down to the leasing office. If the internet goes down, you'll get 200.
Right, because they want to study, right?
That's right. It's critically important.
They don't want to watch movies or anything, right? Well, what are some of the advantages to investing in student housing over, say, conventional apartments?
I think one of the biggest issues for me when I got into the business, and I was working at a conventional apartment builder at the time, is that you get in, if you want to, as an investor, get in and out, you can do it much quicker. You have to realize that when we're leasing these projects, especially new developments, we're often leasing just with online tools. We're building virtual models, and we're leased often to 95 to 100% of occupancy before we even open the doors. So when you move in, you're stabilized year one, day one. And that means that you can then go out and either put permanent financing on it immediately or sell and transact that property, as compared with a conventional asset that may take you 2 years to stabilize at 20 to 25 units per month being leased, and then you have to have stabilization and sale. So it's a much shorter threshold if you want to get in and out with your capital.
Yeah, well, speed's important, and we're on the break, but you get a slightly higher cap rate too, right, than conventional apartments?
You get a slightly higher. That has been trending downwards. It's about 50 basis points is what most people would think now, but it continues to compress because of the amount of capital that's in the sector.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. A lot of investors are interested in student housing. Well, stay tuned. We'll have more on student housing. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by your friends at Bull Realty. When your business requires proven performance, visit bullrealty.com or call 800-408-BULL. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. Hey, be sure not to miss a show coming up that might be of special interest to you. Sign up for a once-a-week email announcing the new show topic each week at commercialrealestateshow.com. Well, today we are talking about student housing. My guest is Brent Little. He's with Fountain Residential Partners. And Brent, we talked about some of the markets that might have some demand for new supply. We've talked about some of the other issues around student housing. So where are the opportunities?
Well, what's happened recently is that there's been a feeding frenzy in the larger schools. And as Taylor said previously, there's been a lot of demand and also a lot of pipeline going into those schools. So the larger schools have maybe seen an overabundance of supply, and so we like to look at those markets that are being missed. It's about that supply-demand balance, and so it's important when you're looking at investing in a school not just to understand the enrollment growth, which may even be flat, but what the demand is there. And a lot of these smaller schools have not seen any new apartment development or the latest class of student housing. So we think those are real opportunities, hitting them where they ain't, as you would say.
I like that. And you guys are building really nice new facilities, but it's also a sector that people can get into in a smaller scale, right?
Definitely. A lot of people in the industry started very small, and the easiest way is you've got a piece of property near a college or a university and there's demand for housing. You lease that out to 2 or 3 kids, you like that, and then you go and you maybe tear down the 2-bedroom house and build a 4 or 6-bedroom house. You start leasing that out and you see you like that. Then you buy the property next to you and you build a few townhomes. And then it just grows and grows until you've got a couple of 100 beds in a nice portfolio. But you can enter it at any level. You can do acquisitions, new development. There's lots of opportunity there. And even in the major universities, if you went and looked at kind of where all of those housing needs are being met, they're from brand new institutional quality off-campus housing all the way down to the mom and pop, or what we call the stealth dorms.
Yeah, nice. Well, what would you say to the folks who are a little concerned in the industry about the affordability of these new student housing projects? I mean, we have the cost of attending the schools going up. We have student housing debt that's always in the news. And are these new developments affordable for the students?
Well, for the most part, they are, because when you look at this as compared with conventional housing, the majority of our projects lease for about $650 a bed. Obviously, in urbanized areas like downtown Minneapolis, it's more. But in most of our properties, it's about $650 a bed, and that includes everything, and your resort-style pool, all of your amenities, the fitness facility, tanning facilities, all of that would be additional cost.
I got to keep my tan.
That's right. You got to get that going. So if you went out there and you got an apartment, you had to put furniture in it, cable TV, internet, gas, pay for your tanning membership, Michael, and then also your fitness membership. I know you've got that going on. So it would be significantly higher, and so it's a value proposition, and you've also got a situation where we've got on-campus people or on-site people that are taking care of you, maintaining the property, the safety, security, all of those things that make us feel good at night.
Well, that makes sense. I've heard some folks talk about, maybe buying a townhome or a duplex or something in these towns. And, when you add the maintenance and the utilities and the cable and all that up, it's going to be quite a bit more than $650 a bed, I would imagine.
It definitely is. But talking about some of the headwinds, there's always the risk of interest rate increase. Construction costs have been rising significantly in the past few years. So it's not a matter of just build it and they will come. There is a measure of where they cannot afford that anymore, and you will find that out. But as a rule, if you do your market research, you do your homework, you see what the cost to live on campus is, and compare that to the other options in that marketplace, you can see where the trend line is and what the successful leasing is being done at.
Okay, and you mentioned headwinds. What are some other challenges that folks like you in this sector might have some concerns about moving forward?
I think overbuilding is one of the greatest ones right now. We touched on that previously, that there's so much exuberance in the sector. There's so much capital that's flooded into the sector from institutional investors, and that's been a very, very good thing, but it's also caused some markets to be overbuilt. So that's one. The construction cost increases. Interest rates haven't really affected it significantly, but right now, if you're building a good quality asset in a walk-to-campus location, those properties are selling at a sub-6 cap. So you can enter at, a 7 to 7.5 on your ROI and be exiting with a difference between 150 to 200 basis points on your investment, which gets you good returns for yourself and your investors.
Right. Yeah, nice opportunities in student housing. And stay tuned. We'll have some more tips and strategies. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by RealNex, providing a comprehensive suite of powerful commercial real estate tools at an incredibly low cost. Visit realnex.com. That's REALNEX. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Michael Bull. Today we're talking about student housing. My guest is Brent Little. He's with Fountain Residential Partners. And Brent, I'd like to see, what is it that you like about the student housing industry? Is there something that kind of drew you to the sector?
Well, I was working in the conventional multifamily sector, and what I saw in the student housing sector that I liked was, number one, it's just a very good product. As a father now with 3 kids in school, I see that it provides something that's very affordable. It provides the convenience factor for the consumer. And at the time, 15 years ago, I saw it as a huge growth market. And we've seen how much it's grown in that time with the presence of the 3 REITs and how much the universities have grown. All of those factors were very attractive. The ability to get capital in and out and turn that very quickly with the student housing assets was important too. And there were so many areas where you could go on a national basis to attract it. If you're local or you're regional as an apartment guy, if the Atlanta market goes down and you're the Atlanta guy, then you have trouble. But if you can go anywhere in the United States and build student housing, there's always going to be a place for you.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And let's talk about you guys, your vision and your views at Fountain. What's your plans there? What are you guys doing moving forward?
Well, we really specialize in the walk-to-campus locations and high barriers to entry. The beachfront property, as some of our investors call it, is critically important. And what you've seen is that assets over the long term that have that kind of walk-to-campus location hold their value long term better than those that we built in previous years that were maybe 2, 3, 4 miles away from campus. We used to go far away from campus where we could buy the land a little more affordably and build lower density projects, keeping the price point very low. And what we've seen is that as those projects have aged, the students have voted with their feet in their pocketbooks and said, we want to live closer to campus, but we're willing to pay for it. That's the important point. Yeah. And so we can afford now to build projects that are higher density. Probably about 2/3 of the projects that we build now have structured parking, they're mixed use, they're very urban. If you think about the locations where colleges and universities are, none of them are in the cornfield. They're all in highly urbanized areas. And so you're going to look for land that's already developed. We're typically tearing things down. We've torn down biker bars, Kmart's, you name it, and we've torn it down and built student housing there.
Can't believe you've torn down a biker bar.
I know. I'm sorry you had to find another place to go, Michael.
That's right. Well, do you guys use capital partners when you're doing these deals? How do you?
We do. You're typically structured about 2/3 debt with conventional bank debt, and about 1/3 of it is financed with equity. And so there are a lot of different places to find your equity, depending upon the size of the deal, too. We've done projects that were as small as 118 beds, and then projects that were over 1,000. So depending upon the size of your equity need, that can tailor the type of equity investor that you're looking for. There's big institutional investors out there that are developing and putting capital into these deals. Some of those will be kind of 90-10, 80-20 deals where you have to have 10 to 20% of the sponsorship capital yourself, and then they're putting in 80 to 90% of the capital. And then you can also go out and find high net worth individuals, family offices. All of these people are players in the space, both for developments and acquisitions.
Have you heard of anyone in your space using crowdfunding for capital?
We've heard rumors of it, but haven't really seen it on a tangible basis.
Okay. And lenders, primary lenders and banks, they're really interested. They're fighting for your business, I assume.
All of the major lenders are in the space. And then on the permanent financing, Fannie and Freddie are the big players there.
Yeah.
You've also got the life companies are in the space as well. So it's a very competitive market for the financing. There's more capital than there are good deals, but that's the key. If you find a really good deal, a great location, great asset that's designed properly, then you won't have the problem attracting the capital to it if your rents are set right.
Okay. And then when you're selling these projects, I guess you're really finding in a seller's market right now?
It is. It's very competitive. We just put an asset on the market the other day, and within the first week we had over 100 CAs signed taking a look at that asset. So as I note, it's compressing cap rates and getting them down well below 6 in the high barrier markets and in the urban areas.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of an interesting time, I think, with the high demand that we have, the low interest rates, I think are pushing a lot of capital towards commercial real estate in general, and then you have these low cap rates for buyers who are financing, and it's quite a window that we have right now. If folks have assets and they're thinking about selling maybe in the next 5 years, would you think this is a good time to sell?
I think it's a very good time, and we always say if you're not a buyer, you're a seller. But we have people on both sides of that ledger. There's lots of people that have capital to get out, and there's people that have built good projects that are looking at capitalizing on that investment. I think the other thing that's attractive is it is an asset class that's somewhat countercyclical. If you look at enrollment growth during the recession years, there's actually a spike in enrollment growth in the recession years. And so when we've analyzed portfolios of conventional or luxury apartment assets, they have not fared as well in the downtimes of the cycles in real estate as the student housing assets have.
Well, it's interesting. So, that's a great way to round out your portfolio, right? Get some diversity there, and I guess that also would help the REITs in downturns, right? That own student housing.
Definitely, it does.
Yeah. Because if you like real estate, you might want something that in the downtime is doing well, kind of round you out.
I think another important factor is there are so many different universities that you have to tailor it specifically to that university. So,
Brent, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here in Studio One.
You bet. Thank you, Michael.
Well, stay tuned. We'll have more on student housing. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty Commercial Advisors, a great place to do business. Visit bullrealty.com. RealNex, a comprehensive and powerful suite of commercial real estate tools at an incredibly low price. Visit realnex.com. That's RealNex. Xceligent, the resource professionals use for commercial real estate information. Visit xceligent.com. That's XCELIGENT. Commercial Search, the source to market and source available properties for sale or lease. Visit commercialsearch.com. For more information on these great companies or for additional videos, podcasts, or articles, visit CREshow.com.